We are live. Welcome everybody to the Playwright karaoke. Q&A. So really appreciate you all coming out here today on your beautiful afternoon. It's a beautiful sunny day here. And for those at home, whatever time zone you are in, thank you for joining in. So a quick little introduction. My name is Debbie O'Brien. I'm a senior program manager at Microsoft, advocating and building up the Playwright community. And right next to me is...
My name is Andrey. I'm a software engineer on Playwright team.
And my name is Max Schmidt. I'm a software engineer as well on the Playwright team.
And this is the first time the three of us have been in person together. So this is like a unique opportunity. And it's why we created this, right? Because we've been online for so long together. We said, let's get in person and then let's try and answer your questions, what you want to hear and what you want to know about Playwright. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions to the people in the room first. Haha, you didn't know you're going to be tested. I know. So first of all, who here is actually using Playwright? Okay, great. So most of the hands went up except for the one guy in the front who said he's planning on it, which is cool. That's good. Okay, perfect. So you basically are going to be asking all the questions that you have based on what you're using or why you're not using it yet. So this is an open Q&A, which means just put your hands up. I'll come running with the microphone. I'll answer your question. Well, I won't. They'll answer your questions. And then we have the questions in the chat. So anyone in the room want to start us off with a question? Did you come prepared? Now they're all going, oh my gosh, I'm like so scared. It's too early. Don't worry. We'll take one from the online audience. So, okay, this is a nice one. Are you ready? Can we have more support for making testing API easier?
Sure. So it depends on what exactly is missing. We thought we are in a good shape. So if something is missing, please file an issue with your use case and we'll prioritize it accordingly, I guess.
That's a great answer. So basically, for those that do not know how Playwright works, Playwright is open source. So everything we do goes through GitHub for GitHub issues, for bug fixes, for feature requests. So if something is not working for you, that's where you should go to kind of say, hey, this should be better because I'm expecting it to do this. So yeah, great answer there. Let's have a look for the next question. Playwright is a game changer tool in UI automation. Curious as to reasons why Microsoft is supporting it. As it's open source, and as I can see it, Microsoft is not making any direct money out of it. Oh my gosh. Let me answer a little bit of this, right? And then if you want to add to it, you can add to it. So I like to think of Playwright in the sense of Microsoft as TypeScript. Right? TypeScript, Microsoft make no money out of TypeScript. TypeScript is by Microsoft. Not many people know that, but it actually is. And it's open source and free. Playwright is open source and free because we're creating a testing tool that we need internally in Microsoft, and why not share it with the world as well? So basically, it's free, but I mean, if someone wants to send us money, they can, right?
we should add a donation page, maybe.
We should add a donation page. Oh my God, we could be rich. But yes, it is free and open source, so don't worry. We get paid. We're good. Anyone else? Yes, I have a question down the back. I'm going to come running down the back to take this question. I think he wants to open the donation page.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me decently? Okay. So this one's a bit more in-depth technical about how to use Playwright, but one issue I found when setting it up is that if we have like a test matrix that has multiple dimensions that we want to test against. The main way I found to control those parameters was via projects, but that is more tuned to like a flat list of n values. I guess a more practical example would be like, in our case, we have specific environments we want to test against, and then we also want to test in specific browsers. So that becomes a 3x3 matrix. And the way I figured out how to set that up is just having 9 projects that specify all the combinations. But obviously, if you add more dimensions, if you add more values to existing dimensions, that starts to not be scalable. is there any more effective way to do that using Playwright that I didn't find in the docs? Do you have upcoming features to make that sort of experience easier?
Good question. So let me start maybe how to create these projects, right? You started just to add more projects, in your case 9, and you probably need to add all these 9 projects very manually there. The config file in general for Playwright is just a Node.js script, right? So you could create a small function which has like 2 input arrays and then automatically spawns up this list of projects and create that matrix. The other thing, how to split that if you have like a lot of projects, we recommend like you can use your favorite CI like GitHub Actions and then use like shards there. It's like called strategy matrix, I think, something like this, and then use that basically to span it across multiple GitHub Actions workflows. And if you have like thousands of tests inside each matrix, if this is not enough yet, you can use sharding to split it up even more into smaller chunks.
Cool. Anyone else in the room have a question? If not, I'm going to move. Oh, we have one over here. Let's go.
I just want to echo that Playwright's definitely a huge game changer and is making a really big difference. And we really appreciate, all the hard work that your team is putting into this. I apologize if this is a hard question. You mentioned that earlier, Microsoft wants to build Playwright because you all have a lot of software that you need to test. And so it's really helpful internally. I'm curious, Microsoft also has a lot of native applications and mobile applications that they need to test. We've gotten a lot of, requests to test native mobile applications, and Playwright has completely, changed the game for web. Have you ever considered, expanding into native mobile testing?
We see demand there that people think we do amazing web end-to-end testing and are like really good in creating a framework around that. And we see demand there that asks for like native testing. We are definitely considering it, but so far there are no plans to add like specific launch dates or that we put effort into it as of today.
But I know teams, everyone like wants it, even inside Microsoft. .now Maui team were like, we want Playwright to work for us too. But yeah, who knows what the future holds, but it's not easy. Any other questions in the room? If not, I'm going to scroll through this chat. This chat is going crazy. I'm like, oh my God, I'm trying to keep up here. Azure test plan support, not pipelines. That is the question. Azure test plan support. I don't know.
Let me start answering this question by like providing general support for Azure DevOps. I think that's what you mean. You can run your Playwright tests anywhere. Then you can use compatible reporters like the TRX reporter or the JUnit reporter to then upload these results to the Azure DevOps platform. And I think you can then even enrich it with like Azure plans integrations or something like that. What we at Playwright also allow you is to annotate each test with like a key value. So what we do internally is when someone files a bug at Playwright and says like, I invoke this function with like that object, it doesn't work, we then write a test for it to make sure we don't regress. But we also annotate the test with like this GitHub issue is linked to this test. So that's what we do. And this gets also surfaced, for example, in the HTML reporter. If you need any specific integrations, feel free to file a feature request for it. We are like more than happy to add Azure integrations.
Cool. Next question. Can you use Playwright for performance or scalability testing? Would rather use it over JMeter.
So I guess you can, but we do not focus on this scenario as of today. So there are no recommendations, official recommendations from our team on how to do it officially, efficiently, good. I don't know. Basically, you can, but you're on your own. That would be the response.
That sounds so sad and lonely. Any other questions in the room? Yeah, okay, 1 second.
So we on our team are in the process of transitioning to Playwright from Cypress. I personally don't know too much about Playwright yet, but I would like to know what would be the benefits of switching to Playwright from Cypress. So you can toot your own horns here if you want, but yeah.
I can try to start answering the question. For example, WebKit support is what Playwright offers you. You can use WebKit on Windows. You can use WebKit on Mac, WebKit on Linux as well as iframe integrations. I think that's where Playwright is pretty strong at. And out of process iframes when it's like cross origin. That's how browsers deal with it nowadays. Playwright allows to scale tests really easily, horizontal and vertical. This means like on the same machine, you can run it in parallel, as well as across different machines, and it ends up in the same report. Test execution speed, maybe? But I never tried it. I've just read it in the internet. So I recommend that.
Oh, we have a follow-up question.
How many tests can you run in parallel?
This depends on the machine. We recommend one worker process is assigned to 2 logical CPU cores, I think. So if you have a really beefy machine with 64 cores, you can have 32 workers, which means like 32 parallel browsers running at the same time. Yeah. And each of these tests gets a in-memory browser context, which means like it's really quick to create that. I think like less than 20 milliseconds.
Oh, we have another question down the back. I'm running. Again, in the chat, if you want to throw your questions in there, we'll come back to the chat in just a second.
Hi, we had a situation where we're basically trying to figure out whether or not a canvas element was rendering correctly. And I think what we wound up doing was basically comparing a JPEG. But I'm curious if you had any other options that might be good for that, which might have more isolation.
So with canvas testing is notoriously complicated in web, no matter which framework you use. So the standard approach in the industry so far is to use screenshot testing for the canvas elements. The only thing I would recommend against is JPEG because it is non-deterministic in coding and decoding. So we try to convince everybody to stick to PNGs.
Okay, next question from the chat. One is asking for Azure Test Pipeline support. Can you support Azure Test Pipelines, please?
This is supported as of today.
Woohoo!
I think if that should work, like CI on Azure DevOps. Like you can use Playwright on any CI, even if it's Jenkins hosted on some old Linux server.
And if it's not, or you're finding an issue, file an issue on GitHub. Okay, this is a bit of a long one. I'm going to read this from here. Is there any way that the network calls for backend fail if we don't stub mock so that we will know which endpoint that we missed to mock data locally? Does that make sense? Will I read it again? Is there any way that the network calls for the backend fail if we don't stub mock so that we will know which endpoint that we missed to mock data locally? I think, is there any way to know?
Yeah. I think he has like 4 endpoints and he mocks 3 already. And he wants to find out that 1 is missing. So if you do network interception with Playwright, you can add multiple network handlers and they will fall back each other based on the order you're registering them. So if you add like /API foo /API bar, and then have also /API foo bar. The first and the second is, for example, catched, but for the third one, you don't have a handler. You could add a network interception handler for example, ***/*, and they will all end up in there. And then you could throw, you could console log, you could fail the test based on what you want.
Cool. Anyone else in the room? Okay, I'll take another one from chat. Is there any chance, this is especially for you, Max, sorry. Is there any chance you will support XUnit?
We were investigating, I think, like 1 to 2 years ago into XUnit support, and we found out that if you write asynchronous tests, the way how they parallelize them with multiple worker processes does not work for Playwright really well, because you cannot have a static amount for parallel browsers, I think, if I recall it correctly. Inside our documentation, we have linked it to upstream issues.
Cool. Can we get more features and support for testing Electron apps with Playwright? Hard questions are coming in. We want all this. We want support for everything.
If you have support, if you want support for any specific feature, file an issue, and then based on upvotes, we will add it. And if it's a good feature request and we like it, you can even contribute it to us if you want.
Nice, because Playwright is open source, so we welcome all contributions. So if you want to help us, we will accept all the help.
Yeah, for every release, we get, I think, around 5 to 10 contributions, like external ones, and 1 to 3 is are like the bigger ones, I would say. So we're like a few hours go into. So we love external contributions.
I have a question down the back, so I'm going to run down and take that one, and then I will be back to do the rest of the questions in the chat.
I've been kind of curious about the Safari support. Like, do you get does Apple help out with that, or is it kind of a renegade feature? Or yeah.
Apple Safari is based on WebKit, as you probably all know, and WebKit is an open source project. So if you have pull requests there against a public WebKit project, and it makes sense for them, they approve it and they let it into their source code. But we don't get any dedicated Apple support there. We completely rely on the open source part and contribute against that.
Great question. Do you have any plans to support more Android operations?
So we already have experimental Android support for web use on Android. It is experimental, and there are no plans to extend it so far. So we are basically gauging like public interest. So if you use Android, our Android experimental support, please write us a letter in issues. And if we see that more and more people are interested, we'll prioritize features in Android more and more.
But we run all our tests on Android as well, and they're all passing, as well as in Electron, to always make sure it works.
That's cool. Any more questions from the room? No, not yet. Okay, let me go back to the chat. Is there any commentary on supporting plugins for Playwright beyond custom selector engines?
This is a very vague question. Vague, very sorry, no native English speaker. So depends, right, what you want to do. Maybe already possible, we don't know.
Okay, there's some kind of really long ones in here, so I'm trying to try and see if it's actually a question or just a comment. So I'm going to read it out and see what happens. I need to test UI interactions and canvas elements. Does anyone have an idea of how we could make that work? There are some tools available for testing games using image recognition. Do we support Canvas?
Yes. You can click on a canvas element using Playwright, and specify an X and Y coordinate. You don't need, nowadays you don't even need to calculate or find it out yourself. You can use CodeGen to do it. So if you use CodeGen to click on a canvas, it will automatically generate click statements for you with the right X and Y values.
This should be enough actually to test basic canvas interactions.
And if not, file an issue.
Absolutely.
Any other questions here in the room? Yeah, we have one down here, and then I'll come back to the chat.
How many developers do you actually have working on Playwright?
Not enough?
So far, we have 5 core developers.
And me, who's like a kind of a quarter of a developer, not even. So we're a very small team, and that's why, as an open source project, we welcome contributions, because then we can get things done better and faster. But yeah, great question. No one's ever asked that. It's nice. I've got a bit of a horrible question coming up. PHP support.
File an issue. There is one issue, I think, and we closed it as this is not planned. There is a non-official PHP client. There are non-official Playwright language bindings. For example, in Ruby, Rust, Go, PHP, Perl. Yeah, so we have an active community.
Very interesting. Okay, I quite like this question. I think you're going to answer it. Are you ready? What are the main differences between packages, Playwright core, and test?
So if you are in the browser automation, then and you are not in the testing, web testing, then you probably want to use Playwright core. So Playwright core is just a browser automation library. It lets you, control the mouse, the keyboard, open pages, close the pages, do stuff like that. However, it turns out this is a pretty low level if you are into end-to-end testing, because you want to assert certain state that the page actually achieves, reaches the state, and you want to proceed from that state. And if you're into this kind of end-to-end testing game, then you want to use a Playwright test, because we help you a lot with these kind of scenarios.
So Playwright is a browser automation library. Playwright test is an end-to-end testing framework.
Cool. That was a good question. Yes, we haven't had that one before. Okay, anyone else in the room have a question you want to ask? Scanning the room, and now I'm going to back to the chat. Okay. Okay, very serious one here. Are you ready? We know Playwright doesn't use WebDriver, but has the team kept an eye on the WebDriver BiDi W3C working group happenings?
We do keep an eye on all the developments in browser automation, since we do browser automation under the hood as well. We wish luck to WebDriver BiDi, but it's an initiative, and we are a product, so we have kind of different goals.
Any other questions in the room? Not yet. Okay. Some serious question. Will you improve API testing capabilities until the end of the year? Path parameter, for example.
Path parameter?
Path, P-A-T-H.
P-A...
Path.
Path parameters. So he we need more information to act on that. That would be my response when this would be a GitHub issue. So if you make an HTTP request with Playwright, you can specify the URL, and you can specify any kind of get parameters, right? That's probably what he asks. And what he would love to have is like what we in the web world call URL search params, where the URL search params, the search, how is it called? The get parameters, get constructed and encoded correctly, I think. That's his feature request. Maybe.
Okay, the person in the chat, if you want to clarify on that, please just send an extra message or just file an issue. Okay, anyone else in the room? Not yet? So far, so good. Is it feasible to incorporate a user interface UI heat map as a new feature that visually represents the coverage of web elements by tests indicating which elements have been covered? Should I read that again?
So you can actually implement this yourself on top of Playwright API. You can inject a bunch of tracing scripts inside the page using the API that you provide, namely page add script tag, and then just collect this coverage information. You don't need anything from us to implement this as of today, to the best of my knowledge.
Excellent. Any other questions? One down the back, and then I'll come back to those questions in the chat. So keep posting those.
I've been exploring using Playwright as kind of a web scraper. Any new feature or anything that's particularly useful for that you can think of?
The Playwright library instead of Playwright test. And then you should have all the capabilities to do so, right? There are no limitations which we are aware of.
Okay, any other questions in the room? I've got a lovely one here in the chat for you. You're going to love the next one. You ready? You know the answer to this.
File an issue.
I think this one has a lot of issue already filed. Are there any plans for the Playwright team to support the, are you ready? Dun, 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 Cucumber BDD runner? It would be beneficial to have seamless integration like Test Runner.
So this is actually one of our most voted feature requests on GitHub. That's why Debbie is so excited about it. There are a bunch of third-party implementations of the Cucumber already, and we are keeping an eye on them, and we see if they actually get any traction from the community, and what are they missing and what are they doing good. So this is our basically experimental playground. If they are successful and they are making people happy, we will be happy to get them inside the upstream, basically to our repository, and to include them. But so far, we are just watching and keeping an eye on them.
Wouldn't it be cool, though, if you could just, instead of using Cucumber, just get AI and just say, like, click on the button, open this, add something to the cart, and then click the pay button, and then it writes the test. Can we do that? We have CodeGen, we do. But just all those announcements at Build got all excited.
But CodeGen are just
Yeah.
test.
We need AI. AI is everywhere.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know if I understand this one, so maybe you'll understand this question. Which test case management systems does Playwright integrate with natively? Do you understand that?
I am not sure, but I would answer with any. Like you can use annotations on your test case to link it to any GitHub, to any URL, to any kind of metadata. There are solutions out there, like I've heard of TestRail or X-Ray or things like that. They provide dedicated reporters. They provide dedicated integrations for that, basically. We expose all the APIs that they can do that themselves with very low effort.
I have someone in the chat who also likes AI and said auto-healing elements using AI possible. At the moment, we don't use AI, but the future is going to use AI everywhere. So who knows what the future brings, no? Who knows? Tests will just write themselves in the future. But for now, we've got to do it. Any more questions in the room? Okay, this is a really long one, and I think it's more of a kind of like you've got to imagine this. You ready? Drop down. You're imagining the drop down on the page. Drop down isn't working as expected. Oh my gosh, drop downs never work as expected, but only in Firefox. So the drop down isn't working as expected in Firefox. On click of the drop down, it shows up the options, but then it closes the drop down without any action performed very quickly. Any thoughts or solutions?
Lucia, Andrey, fix please very quickly.
I mean, this sounds like a bug report for Playwright, so please file it. We triage all our bugs in timely manner, roughly in 24 hours, and we hope to, if there is a good repro, we'll fix it. If it's on our side, if it's your problem, we will tell you. Yeah.
Yeah, for our viewers, it's very important that if you encounter a bug, we are super happy if you file it, but also attach a full reproducible with the bug. And the reproducible is not just HTML or a screenshot of your DevTools. A reproducible is something which exactly surfaces the bug. What we love is a whole test case which we can run, and you supply us expected and actual values. Long day.
Learning how to write issues is actually really hard.
Stack Overflow has a great documentation about it, about a minimal reproducible and how to create it.
Nice. But we also have a really good template, so it's easy to follow and it kind of tells you what you should do. So check out don't be afraid. What I'm saying is don't be afraid to file a bug issue. It's not that scary. We help you kind of we tell you what we need from you. So just do it. And if it's not good enough, Lucia will tell you it's not, and then you'll just have to fix it and make it better. So don't worry. Excellent. Any other questions from the room? Not yet. Okay. Any competition to Appium from Playwright or just sticking with browser? I don't know if that's a question. I don't get it.
I mean, as of today, we are sticking to browsers and end-to-end testing for web. That's our game.
Okay, I hope that answers the question. Might not be the best time. It's never a bad time. But do you know if there is a way to make Playwright wait until a variable is set on window?
Page.waitFor function is your friend. There you can specify any JavaScript function, either directly JavaScript or as a string. And there you could say, for example, type of window.foo is not defined, or window.foo equal some value. Or you can even specify a promise.
Max can do all this from his head. Amazing. Love it. He is the documentation. Anyone else in the room want to ask a question? Don't be shy. Not yet. Okay. We have the same question that we've already answered. I'm going to read it out again because maybe this person joined late, so that's totally acceptable to repeat the question. Are you planning to upgrade to WebDriver by DAI? You want me to answer it? Okay. I'll just say that we are watching the project. We're not planning at the moment to upgrade, but we'll keep an eye as it is basically a new initiative and it needs full browser support from all the browsers. So at the moment, we'll keep watching. But yeah, thank you. Good question. Okay, I'm scrolling through in case I didn't miss any of the questions here in chat. There's so much like talking going on between people, which is cool. We did the plugins one, yes. Oh, yes. Do you plan to add running project against another? For example, Smoke with all the browsers, etc. Does that make sense? I'll read it again. Do you plan to add running project against another, i.e. Smoke with all the browsers, etc.? That's all I got.
I don't understand this question. I'm sorry.
Okay, so person who asked that question, if you want to just rephrase that question a little bit better, we should be able to tackle it then.
Thank you.
Until then. And if you if we don't like reach out on Discord, if you have left and you're watching this later on.
We have a very active Discord community with over 4,300 members, I think, as of today.
I think it's 4,400 now. It keeps growing immensely. It's insane.
Wow. Yeah. For more sorry. For more information on playwright.dev/community, we have a list of all our conference talks which we give. And we have a YouTube channel with, I think, over 5,000 subscribers right now, where we publish monthly release videos and conference talks as well.
And my videos?
And your videos, your fantastic conference talks.
No, the feature videos, my UI
yes.
mode video, my
Your
getting started
iMode
videos.
Trace Viewer video, yes.
And we will be doing more videos. We have lots planned for our YouTube channel. So make sure you're subscribing to our YouTube channel. Those who are coming through to YouTube, you're seeing the excitement in there and you're like already subscribed. So that's cool.
Forgive me if I don't, we are not using it yet. So what features are available for testing accessibility, and are there different types of like ones that you recommend over others, since maybe there's a couple of different aspects or people that have developed different ones?
So by default, when you start writing tests with Playwright and use, for example, CodeGen, we have an API which we call role-based selectors. So you can click, for example, a button with the name card, but actually this is an icon. And what this will do is it will take a look, has this icon an ARIA label attached and all that stuff. So this is like what I personally call like layer 1 accessibility testing. Is your application able to create like good selectors out of your icons, and so on? What else do? We provide, like for JavaScript, we provide integration with X Playwright, where you can add the page and then X will analyze it, I think, if I understand it correctly. And you can use this. Did I miss something?
We have so there's Axe integration as well.
X Playwright.
X Playwright, yeah, it is third party though. It's not first hand.
We also have an official guide, I think.
And we have an official guide.
Yes,
how to use it.
And this is not using the third party package anymore.
Maybe.
Yes.
Yeah. There are selectors that we prioritize. So role selectors are priority when we generate your code. So if you can click through your website using role selectors, you have a very good accessibility. It means your users are likely to be able to do this the same way. We also expose some native accessibility layer. If you are a very advanced accessibility tester, you can use those. Yeah, basically native browser accessibility 3.
Nice. Okay, so our previous question, they've rephrased it. So the example is, I have smoke, integration, and end-to-end tests, and I need to run it against Chrome, Firefox, or Safari. Then I end up with 3 times 3, which equals 9, good maths, projects with duplicated code.
Yeah, so the way you can organize this is by basically using environment variables, and you can, when you configure in your projects in your config, you can read from these environment variables. And then when you launch your tests, you supply different values for these environment variables. So you say you want to run only smoke tests, add this test grep, test grep as smoke, and put it in your environment variable. And then if you are in Bash, you have a small for loop navigating through different environment variables. You can do the same thing basically in JavaScript and just generating these projects with the for loops in JavaScript. Depends how you like to do it. Oftentimes people like to have these configurations in their workflow files. Then environment variables is the way to go. If you are driving the whole thing and the whole process from your config, then JavaScript is the way to go. I hope I did answer. Like, follow up.
It sounded good to me. If not, send a follow-up and we'll follow up. Anyone else in the room? Yeah, I've one down the back, and then keep putting those in the chat. I will get back to those in just a few seconds time as I run down all the way down to the back of the room.
I know there's awesome support on Chromium and Chrome to emulate video or camera and microphone. Is there, I haven't looked at this for a while, is there support for WebKit or Firefox, or are there any plans for support for that?
We don't have support for it yet, I think, but we are more than open to add support for it. So based on the upvotes, basically, we will add support for it.
Anyone else in the room? Not yet. Okay, are you ready? This is an interesting one. I need to find it because it was interesting, but then there's too many others came in. Oh yeah. So will the Playwright team be expanded until the end of the year, or will they stay at 5 people because Playwright gets much attention? I love this question. I think we would love to have, like, double the team and have 10 people, 15 people, 20 people, 50 people. But unfortunately, you've seen this year has been a hard year in tech. We've had layoffs in Microsoft. So at the moment, there are no plans to hire as much as we would love to. But we hope next year there will be more budget. AI is going to, you know, take over the world. We're going to make loads of money because of all the AI and Bing and everything. So yes, watch this space. And we do rely on external contributions. It's open source. So we're not really a team of 5 because we're a team of 5 plus community. No? One in the room. Okay, let me take the one in the room and then I'll go back to the chat ones.
I kind of have a follow-up to that. So being a team of 5 plus community, how do you kind of wrangle all the competing interests towards a roadmap? Any thoughts? Is it primarily the 5-person team and then you get feedback, or how does it work?
I could start explaining by how we end up releasing what we release. We are a team of 5. We are always adding new features every week. We are adding new buttons. We are adding new APIs. But like a week usually before the release, we have what we call API review. So we go always over each of the options which we added and make sure that they go with our vision of making end-to-end testing really easy and accessible. And yeah, this is like how we approach it. And that's where external contributions fade in as well. So we see very often external contributions, right? And then it's sometimes these contributions are for a very specific niche use case. But not always we can support this very specific use case. So that's where we need to have this clear boundary. Did I miss something, Lucia?
I think you're good. The question was whether we have a roadmap or not. I actually did not follow the question.
Yeah. It was more how do we organize the community and incoming PRs with our vision. Yes.
I think we should mention the UI mode, the watch mode, as an example, right? So we had like a lot of people in the community were looking for watch mode. We didn't have that.
Yes. I explicitly only talked about PRs. So if users have like interest, right, and there is a GitHub issue and it has a lot of upvotes, like watch mode, 350 upvotes, I think, something around that. This is like what we think every week multiple times about, because these 350 upvotes, they come not out of nowhere. Yeah. But sometimes these issues which are there, like UI mode, they are not really end-to-end testing focused. So we first need to make them have them align with our vision, so that end-to-end testing and watch mode belong together. That's how it ended up in UI mode, a very dedicated application where you can run tests and enable UI mode and then see each of the steps with the trace view on the right side.
Yeah, so to sum up, every few weeks we sort our issues by likes, and we pick the issues with the most amount of likes and try to fix it. That's like we make people happy. That's what makes us happy.
And basically, we listen to the community. So the community are our users. So we don't just do what one company decides that we should do. We do what the community wants, because everyone out there wants different things. But then we look for the biggest one, the biggest upvotes. But then we have to see if it's actually possible, because sometimes people ask us like for things that we can't focus on, or we don't have the manpower to focus it on. But yes, if you do want something, basically liking issues, upvoting them, adding a comment to it, they get read, they get seen, and they get listened to. So make sure you keep doing that. But really good question. Okay, taking some more from the chat. Bear with me. Do you have any plans for better support for custom selector engines, specifically the process of publishing, install, registering, etc.? Also, the pain of registering that engine in other languages. Does that make sense?
I think it shouldn't be that hard as of today if you do it right. Maybe it's a documentation issue that we don't explain it in the way how we should do it. But publishing a selector engine is like just publishing a string as from my knowledge. And this string you can use in any language binding.
I have an example here, if this helps. The UI5 selector engine is very difficult to use in Python.
I know UI5, but I don't know the UI5 selector engine.
Okay, neither do
So
I.
yeah, so let me continue explaining this very abstract thing. So publishing a selector engine is just publishing a string of JavaScript, right? And you need to publish this across the 4 language bindings. And in Playwright for Node.js in the Playwright test runner, if you do Playwright selectors.register inside the config, this should be more than enough that it works everywhere.
Okay, cool. I hope that answers your question. Next one's for you. Are you ready? I am trying to do visual testing using Playwright. Is there any documentation about visual testing best practices? Things like disable animations, disable cursor, etc.
We don't have documentation for this yet, but we have a handful of good bugs opened regarding the visual regression testing. We are gathering likes there, so please go there and upvote them if you are into visual regression testing. So far, we were under impression that not too many clients are actually doing visual regression testing because it's very complicated and only a few big companies can afford doing this. And those companies are usually very good at tackling their own challenges. So we are not of much help for them.
Nice answer. Oh, Max, this is for you. Any chance we can extend the test runner features in Java?
There are no test runners in Java, right?
No.
For Java, we only published Playwright the library. It's a small team, Playwright, and what we saw other browser automation libraries do, like Selenium, in Java, they have the library. And as of today, we only have a very bare minimal, what we call like skeleton file, which you can use, which launches the browser, creates a context, and gives you a page for each test. So no plans as of today.
Any support for parametric test generation?
Well, technically, these are already supported, and we have them in our documentation. You can just read the JSON and generate your test with a for loop. And this is the same as test.ish ingest.
We have examples for that, for how to read a CSV file and a JSON file, and based on that, generate test cases.
Okay, I think we're going back to kind of the same question. Sorry, Max, don't kill me. Just making sure everyone gets the answer to their questions. Are you planning to provide XUnit and UI mode support for C# or nothing changed yet?
There's no support plan for XUnit and for UI mode as well.
Yeah, sorry. For the moment, we can't support that. We do not have enough people on the team to do it. And if you do want UI mode and want to use the features that we have released recently, we suggest that you do use Node or TypeScript, JavaScript to be able to leverage those features. I hope that helps. Any other questions from the room? Okay. Okay, this is a long one. I'm going to read it out. Let me see what it says. For contributing, is there any hint, commentary that links the TS file with the spec file? So we know which spec file we should use if we add a feature on some file. Shall I reread that?
Yes, please.
Okay. For contributing, is there any hint, commentary, or a comment that hints what links the TS file with the spec file? So they're contributing. and they want to write the test for the feature.
So the best way to go about this is to send your pull request with some test somewhere, and the reviewer, me, Max, Pavel, Dmitry, or Yuri, will tell you if this is a correct place. So there is no official guidance, it's the guidance all in our heads.
And even if you create a pull request with a fix for something, but have no clue where to put the test or have no clue how to write a test at all, we are more than happy to help you for that.
We have another support question. Are you planning and support for K6 to cover performance topics?
No plans as of today. That's a third-party tool, but if I remember correctly, they have a guide for Playwright.
Excellent. So check out their site. These are jumping in at the moment, so everyone's getting like very excited, and because there's only like literally 9 minutes left, so everyone's getting and putting all those questions in, so it's like jumping up and down in the chat. Is there near support for app native testing for both iOS and Android? We did kind of answer a little bit of this earlier, but do you want to mention a little bit just again for anyone who came in late?
There is no support for native app tests on iOS or Android as of today, and there is not in the works as well.
And I quite like this. It's more like a question, comment, why don't you have a paid version? So there's people out there who want to give us money. I love it. Just send me. I have a GitHub sponsor. Just sponsor me. No money messing. You keep
playwright.dev/donate.
Yes, we should do it. Or we're going to sell all these T-shirts and hoodies and make money. So yeah, they're saying that you keep saying that the team is way too small to support what the users want. A paid version would enable a bigger team and a more epic list of features. And I know that sounds kind of good. Yeah, we charge all our users €1 every time they write a test or something, and then we make loads of money, and then we can hire more developers. It doesn't always work like that, unfortunately, and we have a system in place. So we're not going to charge you any money, but if you want to pay us, feel free to send us beer.
Yes, Playwright is and stays open source.
Yes. So just like TypeScript, TypeScript probably need more people too. Everyone in open source need more people. I've never seen an open source project that does not need more people.
So for the others, maybe TypeScript, VS Code, and we and Electron as well, we are all under the same department.
And
which we call developer division.
Yes. And they said in the chat that they will buy this t-shirt to help support our project so we can hire more people. Okay, could we have some better docs around sharding? In the past few releases, the logic has changed back and forth. Ooh.
There should be no logic changes back and forth. Playwright is and follows Semver, so there should be no CLI changes. Like if we have a parameter which npx Playwright test supports, this is not going away or changes. If you ask about documentation and have there any requests, feel free to file an issue and we will assign it to the next release to Debian, me, and I even created an issue about writing better sharding docs around Azure DevOps, and I assigned it to the next release. So if you're using Azure DevOps, already filed.
Excellent. Okay, this is a complicated question. Currently using Codeception. Yeah, okay, good. You know what we're talking about. And we create, oh, look, it's jumped again in the chat. Hang on, let me scroll back. And we create staging data before we run the test suite. Does the Playwright support CRUD operation with the database before running the test suite? No, I was reading the question. I wasn't even concentrating what the question says.
Okay, so I'm not sure if Codeception actually exposes our capabilities, but Playwright and Playwright configuration has dependencies and as of 134 teardown. And these are basically orchestration for your project running. And this is how you can organize the setup of your database and then the teardown of database. We have it all covered in our documentation. Check out the dependencies and teardown topics in the search. They should go jump you started with this.
Cool. Any other questions in the room? coming up to the last 5 minutes. So you do have that one question that you're holding on to, the last best question. Now is the time. Oh my God, I love this. This is this person in the chat is amazing. Is Microsoft proud of you? And hang on, there's more. Do Microsoft know how much value you add to QA? Isn't that nice?
It's an amazing question.
You're the best. Send me a message on Discord and I'll send you a beanie or something.
We have so many nice colleagues, don't we?
Oh, we have one in the room. Let me run down the room. Keep posting them in the chat and I will try very fast to get through all of those questions.
That last question from chat just kind of spurred my curiosity a little bit, but what is adoption of Playwright like within Microsoft right now? Like, how would you estimate how many teams, orgs are using Playwright in their workflows?
Playwright is used very actively inside Microsoft for the products you use probably daily. Bing, Outlook, Loop, Word, Excel. For example, these are using us as well, like
the news that on like
yes,
MS
news is
thing.
using us. Yeah, so Microsoft internally relies very heavily on it, as well as externally. We have customers like Tesla, Adobe, NASA, VS Code as well.
But also, like any other company, there are obviously like lots of teams within Microsoft, and some have been using obviously other frameworks in the past and are slowly migrating over. So it's not like we flipped a switch and everybody's using Playwright. It doesn't work like that. They're going through the same processes as you all had to go through. And there are teams that maybe didn't have tests and now they're starting off writing tests, and they're all kind of learning off each other and we're learning off them as what they're wanting. Some of them want to run their tests, everything through code spaces, for example. It's a new kind of experience for us. So we learn a lot from the internal teams as well. And obviously we would love to say everybody in Microsoft uses Playwright. We're not there yet, but that's our goal.
But there are also so many who use us and we don't even know inside Microsoft.
Yeah, we found out like 2 teams literally this weekend as we were chatting to 2 people and they were like, yeah, we use Playwright. And like, what? Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So yes, it's a massive company, by the way, in case you didn't know. Is there a way to save HTML reports for long-term documentation?
HTML report is a directory. So
Like,
you can
yeah.
save it anywhere and open it 20 years, for example. But he's probably asking for historical HTML reports and having tests across the matrix. We don't know.
So our friend has commented, and still 5 people? Tell Microsoft you need to double it. I will buy the first chair for the new colleague. So we most of us work remote, so we have our own chairs. But thank you for that. That's cool. And someone's echoing what was said earlier. Please consider selling Playwright swag. My whole team needs it. I will forward that straight to the marketing department and make sure that they are aware that people are willing to buy this swag. It is cool. I know. Please add more feature for visual testing. Can you do that?
Let's do it.
Cool. We'll do that. We'll do that tonight, tomorrow. Tomorrow. Okay. Oh, I like this question. This is it. We've never had this one before. Is there a Playwright beta testing group? If so, how do I join it?
This is an amazing question. So we have a documentation page, and it's the Canary one. There you can get all the latest Playwright features which are released daily. And then if you are really curious what we are doing, look at which PRs we merge, look at our commit history. Sometimes we merge stuff and you can test it immediately out. And it's an amazing thing what we merge. But then at API review at the end, we realize maybe it's not ready yet. And then it gets reverted again. So this is the risk of using Canary. So all the stuff you use there might be cool, but might get reverted to how it was before the release. But you always help us to use Canary.
Excellent. Any other questions in the room? Because we're just going to start finishing up. Yes, I have one down there. I will come back to the chat just in a matter of a few seconds.
I was just curious, is there anything kind of that stands out or is unique about the team culture? Or that you'd be willing to share?
Unique about the team culture. I'm unique. I am the uniqueness of the team.
So I think Debbie is best positioned to.
Okay, I will take it over. So we are a team of engineers where some of them are in the Bay Area, which means they get up in the morning at 9 o'clock and start working. They have a meeting first thing in the morning. And me and Max are in Europe. So we're in the same time zone, which means we talk to each other more, which makes sense. I'm always bothering him with questions. And then towards the end of our day, we have the meeting with the team. There's a 9-hour time difference. So that makes it a little bit challenging, I would say. But we have to kind of like work with that challenge and say, right, I'm going to work a bit later, because if not, they would have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, which wouldn't be fair. So yeah, we change our days to make sure that we have at least 3 hours of overlap. We have a meeting every day, and we have great fun on this meeting. We go through all those issues and all those likes, and we talk about anything that, any topics that we have that we want to do. So something that we learned from MS Build or from this Q&A that we want to take back and bring to the team. So we're pretty unique in the sense that, yes, we work remote. It's not really unique because a lot of people do, but that we managed to not have any issues, that we're on different time zones and we're able to run as if we're all on the same time zone. Am I right? I think that's about, anything else you want to add?
We are not using Scrum.
Yeah, we don't use Scrum. That's also unique. Yeah, but that's an interesting question. Thank you for that. Anyone else in the room have a question? I know there's 2 more in chat. I have no idea when they're going to pull the plug. And on this, I have no control. So it's like at any moment, it just disappear from YouTube. So I'll answer as many questions as I can before they pull the plug. Any I think that's chance instead of change. Any chance to meet up face to face in Europe in the near future?
Come to Berlin or Palma.
Yeah, I live in Mallorca and Max lives in Berlin. So if you are in Europe and you want to meet us, I'm quite happy if you land on the island of Mallorca, if you're land in Berlin, contact us. We would totally like meet up for coffee and give you some Playwright swag. No problem at all. And if you go to the Bay Area, then, you go to the beach. Yeah. Yeah. Lucia will bring you to the beach. So no problem. No swag.
Europe exclusives.
Okay, I like this question, so I'm going to jump. I'm jumping like between people. So how often will you do a Q&A in a year in the future? I love that format. So how often in a year will we do Q&A? This is the first one we've ever done.
Yeah, I think we cannot stick with any dates here, but it's an interesting format.
Yes.
But definitely.
We need to know, like, is this actually working? So, all those people that are on YouTube today and the people in the room, we would love to know, is this helpful? Is this good? Are we wasting our time? Are we wasting your time? Or is it beneficial and you've learned something? And, if we do another one, will you actually have more questions or different questions? Or should you just watch that one and all your questions are answered for life?
Yes. What we saw over the past few Q&A sessions is that 3 or 4 questions get asked over and over again in the same Q&A even.
Support for Java, support for XUnit, support for NUnit, support.
The Azure test plans.
Support. Can we have more support?
WebDriver by that.
Can we buy the t-shirt?
Yes.
Yes.
The t-shirt company.
What is the roadmap for the year?
Playwright does not have any roadmap where we stick to. We use GitHub issues to track the next release and the release afterwards. If you're interested in seeing what's in the next release, most likely we have a label for that where you can filter for.
So basically, yes, a roadmap can change depending on what our customers want. And it's very hard to plan out for a whole year because the tech industry changes so fast that we have to see what's changing in the tech industry, what's changing within the testing scene, and then basically listen to what the people are are looking for. And here's another one: is there going to be any Deno support? Deno, Dino.
Dino, no plans as of today.
Well, that's good. We're just gonna support. We're gonna have like a whole channel for support. What we will support in the future, and what we do not support. Okay. Anyone else in the room? This is your final chance because I'm literally gonna pull the plug. I have one more question in here, but if you do have that last question, now is the time. Are we good? These are good. Okay. Are you ready? Dun-dun-dun-dun. Not using Scrum is the key to your success. That wasn't a question, I know. But basically, that is all the questions. I really believe that I've answered them all. If I have not answered your question, because sometimes the chat jumps up and down and it's really hard to kind of like, follow it along. So if I did not answer your question, please join our Discord server. You can find it from going to playwright.dev and clicking the Discord icon. And then you go in there. We have a whole Q&A forum. And basically post your question in there. There's 4,400 active users in there. So if we don't get to answer your question, one of the community is always going to like answer your questions. I haven't really seen many questions that have ever gone unanswered. And they're also creating a lot of articles and videos and tutorials and stuff. So if you check out that, we don't have enough people to create all the content that you need, but all these community members are doing that. So it's absolutely amazing. And we do happy hour in there as well. So every third Friday with the community, they jump on and they on the Discord stage and they do like a happy hour where they kind of like showcase something, talk about it. There's a little bit of a Q&A. So kind of fun. And yeah, I highly recommend you join that and also follow our YouTube channel for all our latest release videos, which is coming out very soon. We recorded one right here just literally a couple of hours ago. So I'm excited to publish that very soon. And one last question before we go. How can I become as excellent as you? Aw, we have a lot of love in here. Isn't that lovely? I want to say thank you very much to all the people online, all the people in the room that joined us. We really appreciate you taking your time. And please file issues, file feature requests, vote, downvote, upvote, whatever way you want to vote. No, don't downvote. Max doesn't like downvotes. Upvote everything or just don't vote. And join our Discord server. Make sure you say hello to us. Make sure you chat to us and tell us what you need, what you'd like more of. We are here to listen to you. Thank you very much. And from us, goodbye.